I was not tough, I was strong. I had to be, because you cannot be a pussycat running, the casino with 4,500 employees.
For years, the dramatic divorce of Ivana and Donald Trump remained one of the biggest celebrity breakups of modern times. Their marriage defined the glitz and extravagance of the 80s, and when it all came crashing down, it did so in the most spectacular fashion. Scandals, betrayals, and a courtroom showdown included. Now, 35 years later, Ivana Trump has finally revealed why she ended things with Donald. From a public clash in Aspen to a bitter legal war and even an FBI investigation, the real story behind their split is far more fascinating than the headlines ever let on. Buckle up. This one's a wild ride, escaping to freedom. Ivana Trump's journey from a young athlete in communist Czechoslovakia to a powerful figure in New York high society wasn't just about luck. She was sharp, adaptable, and deeply aware of the political landscape of the Cold War era. Even before she met Donald Trump, she had already made bold moves, like marrying Alfred Winkelmeyer to secure an Austrian passport, a strategic decision that let her leave Czechoslovakia without cutting ties with her family. By the early 70s, she was in Canada, determined to make a name for herself. Montreal, with its European charm and bilingual culture, gave her a smooth transition into Western life, helping her refine her English and get comfortable in a freer society. Her relationship with Jiří Sirovatka, a fellow Czech defector, introduced her to an entrepreneurial world, placing her in influential circles long before she stepped onto the New York real estate scene. While modeling might have seemed glamorous, for Ivana, it was just a stepping stone, one that helped her gain financial independence and establish herself in North America. By the time she was working on promotional campaigns for the 1976 Montreal Olympics, she had already set her sights on bigger things. And then, in 1976, she met Donald Trump, a moment that would change everything. But Ivana was never going to be just a trophy wife. Life with Donald Trump. Ivana Trump wasn't just another immigrant chasing the American dream. She was a powerhouse. Long before she arrived in New York, she had already built a solid reputation in Canada, juggling a thriving modeling career with a sharp business sense that made her stand out from the typical socialites of the era. Ambitious, intelligent, and unstoppable, she landed in the U.S., determined to leave her mark. When she crossed paths with Donald Trump in 1976, it wasn't just a love story. It was the meeting of two massive personalities, both driven by an insatiable thirst for success. Donald, still trying to step out from under his father Fred Trump's shadow, was on a mission to carve out his own empire in Manhattan. Ivana, with her European sophistication and unrelenting drive, recognized in him a partner who matched her ambition. Their 1977 wedding, officiated by Norman Vincent Peale, whose book The Power of Positive Thinking was basically Donald's Bible, marked the beginning of something far bigger than a marriage. They were a brand, a power couple taking over New York's elite circles. But Ivana wasn't just along for the ride. She was Donald's equal in ambition, and in many ways, the mastermind behind much of his success. With a natural talent for strategy and an eye for detail, she played a key role in shaping the Trump business empire. Unlike many society wives who were happy to spend their days at charity events and designer boutiques, Ivana was right in the thick of it, taking on major managerial roles in Trump's biggest projects. She was instrumental in bringing Trump Tower to life, overseeing everything from interior design to branding, ensuring it became the ultimate symbol of luxury. She played a critical role in the development of the Grand Hyatt, a key project in Donald's growing empire, and later took charge of the Trump Taj Mahal Casino in Atlantic City. But her influence didn't stop at the business side of things. Ivana became the face of Trump's meteoric rise. Her poise, work ethic, and European charm gave their empire an air of class and sophistication. And when Donald took over the legendary Plaza Hotel, he didn't hand it off to just anyone. He put Ivana in charge, not as a figurehead, but as its president. She threw herself into the role with the same unstoppable energy she brought to everything in her life, becoming the first woman to hold such a prestigious position at the Plaza Hotel. Under her leadership, the historic hotel regained its former glory, reclaiming its place as one of Manhattan's finest. But while her career soared, trouble was brewing behind the scenes in her marriage. At first, Donald had admired Ivana's drive. He had married her not just for her beauty, but for her brilliance. But admiration soon turned to resentment. He thrived on being in control, both in business and in his personal life. As Ivana became a powerful figure in her own right, independent of his influence, tensions grew. She was no longer just Mrs. Trump, she was a force to be reckoned with, and that didn't sit well with Donald. His image was everything, and the more she stepped into the spotlight, the more he saw her as competition rather than a partner. What had once been a shared vision of success turned into a struggle for dominance. By the late 80s, the cracks in their empire were starting to show. Financially, things were shaky. The 1987 stock market crash sent shockwaves through Donald's heavily leveraged businesses, and whispers of mounting debt and mismanagement began circulating. Meanwhile, Ivana's growing influence within the Trump organization only fueled the strain on their marriage. Donald was desperate to re-establish himself as the ultimate decision-maker, not just in their business, but in their home. And then came Aspen. It was Christmas 1989, and what should have been a relaxing holiday in Aspen, Colorado, turned into one of the biggest scandals of the decade. Rumors about Donald's infidelities had been swirling for months, but Ivana had chosen to ignore them, until now. In Aspen, she found herself face-to-face with Marla Maples, the young Southern beauty queen who had become Donald's mistress. Witnesses later described an explosive scene where Ivana, usually composed and in control, let her fury out in full force. Cornered and humiliated, Marla made a bold declaration. "I love him, and he loves me." And just like that, any hope of reconciliation between Ivana and Donald was shattered. The betrayal was undeniable. There was no going back. What followed wasn't just a messy divorce, it was a media circus. Ivana and Donald's split became one of the most talked about breakups of the era, feeding a tabloid frenzy that lasted for weeks. For 11 days straight, the New York press covered every scandalous detail, turning their marriage's downfall into must-read drama. A relationship that once symbolized wealth, ambition, and success had become a public spectacle, complete with accusations of infidelity, bitter legal battles, and shocking revelations. Ivana even accused Donald of assault during a heated argument, though she later walked back the claim, adding more fuel to the already raging fire. By December 1990, their marriage was officially over. The court granted Ivana a divorce on the grounds of cruel and inhumane treatment, but much of what had really gone on behind the doors of their lavish penthouses and five-star hotels remained a mystery, buried under legal agreements. Ivana, who had played a major role in building the Trump brand, wasn't about to walk away empty-handed. She fought hard for her fair share, and the settlement she secured was nothing short of substantial. $14 million in cash, a sprawling 45-room mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut, an apartment in Trump Plaza, and even limited access to Mar-a-Lago. However, there was a catch. Her ability to speak freely about her marriage was heavily restricted. A strict non-disclosure agreement meant she could never publicly discuss certain aspects of their life together without Donald's approval. While Ivana was stepping into her new life post-divorce, Donald was facing the biggest financial disaster of his career. Once hailed as the king of New York real estate, he was now drowning in debt. The Trump empire, built on risky investments and ambitious deals, was teetering on the edge of collapse. His Atlantic City casinos were bleeding money, the Taj Mahal casino was drowning in debt, and even the iconic Plaza Hotel was at risk of being snatched away. The banks that once happily threw money at his lavish projects were now hesitant, questioning whether he could actually keep his empire afloat. His financial struggles were just as public as his divorce, with creditors closing in and reports surfacing that he wasn't the billionaire he had always claimed to be. The Trump name, once synonymous with glitz and power, was suddenly under threat. But if there was one thing both Donald and Ivana had in common, it was their refusal to back down. Neither was willing to let scandal or financial ruin define them. Ivana wasted no time in reinventing herself. With the world's eyes still on her, she turned her fame into fuel for new business ventures. She built a brand around her glamorous lifestyle, launching fashion and beauty lines that appealed to women who admired her confidence and style. She even wrote books, including The Best Is Yet to Come, Coping with Divorce and Enjoying Life Again, which became a bestseller. Donald, on the other hand, had his own survival strategy. He didn't just recover, he rebuilt. With his unmatched ability to sell an image, he negotiated deals with banks to restructure his crushing debt, slapped his name on licensing deals, and most importantly, discovered the power of television. The Apprentice transformed him from a businessman in trouble into the ultimate symbol of success. His catchphrase, "You're fired," became part of pop culture, helping him reshape his public persona and eventually launch a political career that no one saw coming. What started as a messy, tabloid-fueled divorce ended up leaving a lasting impact, shaping the trajectory of both their lives in ways no one could have predicted. Their marriage may have crumbled in front of the world, but its legacy lasted for decades. Their 3 children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric, grew up under the glare of the media, each carving out their own space in business and politics, all while carrying the weight of their father's name. Ivana, despite everything, remained deeply proud of her children and, in a way, of the role she had played in shaping not just them, but also Donald himself. In later years, she spoke about him with a mix of admiration and exasperation, acknowledging his success while making it clear that she had long moved on. Though the divorce is old news now, at the time, it was a cultural phenomenon, a symbol of the extravagance, ambition, and cutthroat nature of the 80s. But for both Ivana and Donald, it was never the end, just another chapter in their relentless pursuit of success. Ivana had always been more than just a glamorous wife. She was a powerhouse in her own right. During her years with Donald, she was a major player in the Trump organization, holding executive roles and overseeing key projects. For 7 years, she was one of the top executives in the company, most notably serving as the Executive Vice President for Interior Design, a position that allowed her to leave her personal touch on Trump Tower with its now iconic pink marble aesthetic. Her business savvy and leadership skills led to her appointment as CEO and president of the Trump Castle Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, where she ran the show with sharp precision. Later, she took the reins at the Plaza Hotel, making history as the first woman to serve as president of a major New York hotel. But after the divorce, Ivana didn't sit back and disappear. She built an empire of her own. She used her name to create a brand, launching clothing, jewelry, and beauty products that were sold through major shopping networks like the Home Shopping Network and QVC London. By 1995, she had opened the House of Ivana, a fashion and fragrance company with a prime showroom on Park Avenue in New York. Her business ambitions didn't stop there. In 1998, she turned her attention to Croatia, where she had frequently traveled with her parents. She made a bold investment, purchasing a 33% stake in Polo Plus 10, the country's second-largest daily newspaper. Of course, not every venture was a runaway success. In 2004, the Bentley Bay development in Miami, which had been branded with her name, went bankrupt. A year later, she became involved in several luxury condominium projects, including the ambitious but ultimately doomed Ivana Las Vegas, a high-end residential tower that never made it past the planning stage. Legal battles also followed her business career. In 2010, she sued the Finnish fashion company Ivana Helsinki for using her name without permission. But setbacks didn't stop her. Ivana kept pushing forward, expanding into the literary world with books covering everything from fiction to self-help and memoirs. No matter what challenges came her way, she always managed to reinvent herself, proving time and time again that she was far more than just Donald Trump's ex-wife. Her first novel, For Love Alone, hit shelves in 1992, followed by Free to Love in 1993. Then in 1995, she released The Best Is Yet to Come, Coping with Divorce and Enjoying Life Again, offering guidance to women dealing with the emotional and financial challenges of post-divorce life. But her writing wasn't limited to books. She also dabbled in journalism. From 1995 to 2010, she penned Ask Ivana, a widely read advice column for Globe, where she shared insights on love, relationships, and lifestyle. In February 1999, she expanded her brand further by launching Ivana's Living in Style, her very own lifestyle magazine. She also contributed to Divorce magazine in 2001, drawing from her own experiences to offer advice on moving forward after separation. Then, in 2017, she released her autobiography, Raising Trump, which took a deep dive into her early years in Czechoslovakia and the values she instilled in her 3 children. The book provided an intimate glimpse into her life as a mother, showing the balance she struck between glamour and discipline. During her marriage to Donald, Ivana was a fixture in the media, often appearing alongside him at public events and interviews. One of their most notable joint television appearances was on The Oprah Winfrey Show in April 1988, where they discussed their lavish lifestyle, business ventures, and dynamic as a power couple. The following month, they sat down for an interview on the BBC's Wogan, further solidifying their status as one of the most talked-about couples of the era. But after the divorce, Ivana took full control of her narrative, making solo media appearances that cemented her identity as more than just Donald Trump's ex-wife. In 1991, she gave a no-holds-barred interview with Barbara Walters on 2020, where she spoke candidly about her marriage and its tumultuous end. Donald was so furious about it that he retaliated by cutting off her alimony payments and even threatened to sue her for monetary damages. But Ivana wasn't one to back down. She doubled down on her independence, returning to the Oprah Winfrey Show in 1992 with a fiery declaration, "I will not let men dominate me anymore." The moment resonated deeply with women everywhere, further establishing her as a symbol of empowerment. Her influence in pop culture didn't stop at interviews. In 1996, she made a scene-stealing cameo in The First Wives Club, playing herself in a moment that became instantly iconic. Delivering the now famous line, "Ladies, you have to be strong and independent. And remember, don't get mad, get everything." She turned her real-life divorce into a battle cry for women everywhere. 10 years later, she took a lighthearted turn as a reality TV host with Ivana Young Man, a dating show on the Oxygen network that helped wealthy, middle-aged women find younger romantic partners. The show was a playful departure from her usual high society persona, proving that she could laugh at life's twists and turns. Then, in 2010, she took another dive into reality TV by joining the UK series Celebrity Big Brother 7, where she competed against a diverse group of contestants, ultimately placing 7th. Even in the unpredictable world of reality television, Ivana managed to hold her own. Never one to fade into the background, Ivana continued to embrace love and companionship with the same boldness that had defined her career. In November 1995, she walked down the aisle again, this time with Riccardo Mazzucchelli, a wealthy Italian entrepreneur and international businessman who, like her, thrived in a world of luxury, power, and high society. On paper, it seemed like a perfect match. 2 successful, ambitious figures who knew what it meant to live large. But the reality was far less glamorous. Their marriage unraveled quickly, ending in divorce just 2 years later in 1997. What followed was a legal battle fit for the tabloids. Ivana sued Mazzucchelli for a staggering $15 million, accusing him of violating the confidentiality clause in their prenuptial agreement. In retaliation, Mazzucchelli fired back with his own lawsuit, launching a libel case in a British court against both Ivana and Donald Trump. Though the details of their legal battle remained largely private, the dispute was eventually settled behind closed doors under undisclosed terms. But heartbreak was never something Ivana dwelled on for long. That same year, she found love again, this time with Count Goffredo Gaetani dell'Aquila d'Aragona Lovatelli, an Italian aristocrat whose family lineage stretched back centuries. Their relationship blended old-world nobility with modern-day glamour, and for years, they were inseparable. Whether attending exclusive society events in Europe or jet-setting between their luxurious homes, the two seemed perfectly in sync. Their romance lasted until Gaetani's tragic passing in 2005, marking the end of one of the most meaningful relationships of Ivana's life. Their love story unfolded over nearly a decade, with the two frequently spotted at high-profile events, glamorous European getaways, and lavish charity galas. Gaetani, with his aristocratic charm and deep passion for luxury automobiles, complemented Ivana's own love for refinement and elegance. More than just a romantic partner, he provided her with a connection to European nobility, something she had deeply valued since her childhood in Czechoslovakia. Their relationship endured the ever-changing rhythm of their jet-set lifestyles, remaining strong until 2005, when tragedy struck and Gaetani unexpectedly passed away. Though devastated, Ivana carried on with her signature resilience and soon found love again, this time with Italian actor and model Rossano Rubicondi. Their whirlwind romance lasted 6 years before they decided to make it official, tying the knot on April 12, 2008. At 59, Ivana was 23 years older than Rubicondi, who was 36 at the time, but the age gap did little to overshadow their affection. Their wedding was a spectacle, a grand event that perfectly matched Ivana's love for opulence. It was a $3 million affair held at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida, with 400 guests, including celebrities and high-profile figures. The family's involvement made the event even more intriguing. Ivanka served as the maid of honor, while Donald Trump's sister, Judge Ivana Trump, officiated the ceremony. Despite the grandeur of their wedding, the marriage was short-lived, ending in divorce within a year. However, their connection wasn't easily severed. Over the next decade, their on-again, off-again relationship continued, with the two frequently seen together at social gatherings and vacationing in picturesque destinations. It wasn't until 2019 that Ivana officially declared their romance over for good. Yet, even after their final split, there remained an undeniable bond between them. Then, in October 2021, tragedy struck again. Rubicondi passed away at the age of 49, marking the end of yet another chapter in Ivana's life. Beyond romance, her later years were filled with family, travel, and the luxurious lifestyle she had meticulously built for herself. She took immense pride in her 3 children and adored her 10 grandchildren, showering them with the same energy and determination she had once poured into her career. Splitting her time between her lavish homes, she enjoyed the vibrant energy of New York City, the sun-soaked beaches of Miami, and the glamorous retreats of Saint-Tropez. She embodied sophistication wherever she went, effortlessly balancing the elegance of a European aristocrat with the boldness of a self-made woman. A true polyglot, she remained fluent in Czech, English, German, French, and Russian, a skill that only reinforced her cosmopolitan persona. Even as she aged, she never faded from the public eye. Ivana continued to live life on her own terms, always glamorous, always resilient, and forever unforgettable. Until the very end, she remained the epitome of European elegance and unshakable determination. On July 14, 2022, Ivana Trump's remarkable life came to a sudden and tragic end at the age of 73. Her death, ruled as caused by blunt impact injuries to the torso, was the result of a fall down the stairs at her home on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. The news sent shockwaves through those who knew her, as Ivana had always been known for her strength, vitality, and unwavering presence. While she had stepped away from the public spotlight in her later years, the outpouring of tributes that followed her passing was a testament to the lasting impact she had left behind. Her ex-husband, Donald Trump, who had since served as the 45th President of the United States, took to social media to share his sorrow, calling her a wonderful, beautiful, and amazing woman who led a great and inspirational life. Her children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric, also honored her legacy, remembering her as a formidable businesswoman, a devoted mother, and a woman who had shaped their lives in profound ways. The tributes extended beyond her family, with politicians, celebrities, and influential figures from the business and fashion worlds expressing their condolences. 6 days later, on July 20th, 2022, a funeral service was held in her honor at the Church of St. Vincent Ferrer, a Catholic church near her Manhattan residence. Family, friends, and well-known figures gathered in an atmosphere of solemn remembrance, bidding farewell to a woman who had left an indelible mark on those around her. Following the service, Ivana was laid to rest at the Trump National Golf Club Bedminster in New Jersey, a location that held deep significance for the Trump family. It was a final resting place that ensured she remained forever connected to their shared history. In her passing, Ivana left behind an estate valued at approximately $34 million. True to her devotion as a mother, the majority of her fortune was divided among her 3 children, ensuring that the legacy she had built with determination, style, and ambition would directly benefit the ones she loved most. Ivana's will didn't just provide for her children, she also left generous provisions for 2 individuals outside the Trump family. Evelyn Gallay, a close personal friend, and Dorothy Curry, the longtime nanny who played a major role in raising her children, were both remembered in her final wishes. Her passing marked the end of an era for a woman who had not only helped shape the Trump brand, but had also redefined the image of glamorous, self-made women in the public eye. Her life had been one of ambition, constant reinvention, and an unrelenting pursuit of success. Even in death, her legacy remained strong. But what really led to the downfall of the Trump power couple? Was it just the affair, or was there something deeper at play? While multiple factors contributed to their split, the most damaging and irreparable issue was Donald Trump's highly publicized affair with actress and model Marla Maples. Ivana, who had taken on significant roles in the Trump organization and played a key part in the success of Trump Tower, began noticing changes in her husband's behavior. By the late 1980s, rumors of Donald's infidelity were swirling, and whispers about his involvement with Maples became impossible to ignore. Then, in December 1989, the situation reached a boiling point in Aspen, Colorado. Ivana, vacationing with Donald and their children, unexpectedly came face-to-face with Maples, who allegedly told her, "I love him, and he loves me." The public confrontation was humiliating, and their marriage never fully recovered. In later interviews, Ivana spoke openly about the betrayal and the pain of having her private life turned into tabloid fodder. While she carried herself with dignity, she made it clear that Donald's affair was the breaking point. In her 2017 memoir, Raising Trump, she reflected on the experience, revealing that while she had forgiven him over the years, the collapse of their marriage had been one of the most painful chapters of her life. However, the affair wasn't the only complication in their relationship. During the early 1990s, Ivana found herself briefly entangled in an FBI investigation. Authorities scrutinized her for allegedly having ties to Czechoslovak intelligence services. Born in what was then Czechoslovakia, Ivana had maintained connections with her homeland, which led to speculation and a probe into her background. Though nothing substantial ever emerged from the investigation, it was yet another strain on an already crumbling marriage. Despite their deteriorating relationship, Donald came to Ivana's defense, dismissing the allegations as baseless and politically motivated. However, even his support in this matter wasn't enough to salvage their marriage. The damage had been done, and their relationship had reached the point of no return. By 1992, their divorce was finalized. Donald wasted no time moving on, quickly making his relationship with Maples official. What had once been a controversial affair now became a public romance, culminating in a lavish wedding at the Plaza Hotel in 1993. But while Donald had pursued Maples with great passion, their marriage turned out to be far from the fairy tale he had envisioned. From the beginning, it was plagued by issues, and their incompatibility became evident. Rumors of tension and infidelity swirled around them, and in one particularly scandalous twist, it was alleged that Maples had an affair with one of Trump's bodyguards. The strain on their marriage only grew, and by 1999, their relationship had fallen apart. Their divorce was finalized that year, with Maples walking away with a relatively modest settlement compared to what Ivana had secured. The strict prenuptial agreement ensured that her financial gains were limited. Not long after, Donald found himself in yet another high-profile romance, this time with Slovenian model Melania Knaus. They met in 1998, and while their relationship seemed more stable than his previous ones, it wasn't without challenges. Initially hesitant about his advances, Melania eventually embraced the relationship, leading to their extravagant 2005 wedding. Their ceremony was nothing short of spectacular, featuring a Dior gown rumored to have cost over $100,000. But even after tying the knot, Donald's name continued to be linked to various women. The most infamous scandal erupted in 2018, when it was revealed that his lawyer, Michael Cohen, had facilitated a $130,000 payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. The payment was intended to keep her silent about an alleged affair with Trump in 2006, just a year after he married Melania. The controversy sparked a media firestorm, adding yet another chapter to the long history of Trump's turbulent personal life. The revelation set off a political and legal storm, dominating headlines and fueling endless speculation. While Melania largely maintained her silence, her body language spoke volumes. In the weeks following the scandal's emergence, she appeared distant from Trump, choosing to arrive separately at events and avoiding public displays of affection. This only intensified rumors about the state of their marriage, with many questioning whether their relationship had been permanently damaged. Ivana, however, had long since moved on. By the time these later controversies unfolded, she had distanced herself from the chaos of Trump's personal life, focusing instead on her own legacy. In her later years, she often spoke about her time with Donald with a mix of nostalgia and amusement. She even jokingly referred to herself as the real Mrs. Trump, a title she wore with pride. While their marriage had ended in betrayal and acrimony, they had eventually found a way to maintain a cordial relationship, if only for the sake of their children. Despite the turbulence of their past, Ivana never harbored lasting resentment. She understood the nature of Trump's public and private persona better than most, and while she had been deeply hurt by his infidelity, she had also built a life beyond him. Her focus remained on her family, her business ventures, and the luxurious lifestyle she had worked so hard to maintain. In contrast, Trump's romantic life continued to be a spectacle. The scandals, affairs, and constant media scrutiny never ceased, proving that, for better or worse, his relationships would always be a subject of public fascination. Even as time passed, the world remained captivated by the dramatic twists and turns of his personal affairs. Yet for Ivana, the drama had become little more than a footnote in her own story. She had lived life on her own terms, rising above the chaos and ensuring that she was remembered not just as Donald Trump's ex-wife, but as a powerful, independent woman in her own right.